Jon Jones might be in serious trouble at UFC 285.
Did you just hear a gunshot?
I did it.
You did hear one?
Yeah, I did.
Where'd it come from? What's all this green substance you got all over you?
Jason, I'm just going for a drive, man.
While you're getting all that stuff, hand me the open bottle that's right behind the passenger seat as well. The open bottle that's right behind the passenger seat.
I've really been going back and forth on this fight and trying to figure out exactly how it's going to go. But there's one factor that's looming over my head and everyone's head when it comes to analyzing this fight. That one factor being the fact that we have not seen Jon Jones fight a heavyweight. Putting that to the side for now, after rewatching some of this tape when it comes to Jon Jones' last 3 fights, I've noticed a major weakness that he has, that I've noticed since the beginning of his career, that some of you have probably noticed as well, that I feel that if he doesn't work on it or patch it up before this fight with Ciryl Gane, it's going to cause him a lot of problems in this fight and just his future in heavyweight in general. Let me just add this note as well, okay? After rewatching these 3 fights, I do not believe that Jon Jones can beat Francis Ngannou at heavyweight. Now, of course, there's the unknown factor of how Jon's going to look at heavyweight. I don't know that for sure, but after rewatching these 3 fights, he's not beating Francis at heavyweight. By the way, if you end up enjoying the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content similar to this, check out my channel for other content I have, videos, live streams, all that sort of stuff. So let's start with the past 3 fights and we're going to analyze them and go through some of the stuff. So let's start with the Anthony Smith fight. Anthony Smith, the man who could have won the belt via DQ but didn't. What a great guy he is. I remember after watching this fight, the overall feeling I just had after watching this fight again was decent, but seriously, I'm not saying that Jon looked bad in this fight. I mean, he clearly dominated Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, to be honest, had pretty much nothing for Jon. And I remember the same feeling I got when I first watched it years ago live. And I rewatched it again now, and I just felt that I didn't feel that same fire and tenacity in Jon in this fight. And I remember this is where I began to feel that. Now, one thing I picked up in this fight and the other fights I rewatch is one thing that I think we should really appreciate about Jon is not just his solid defense, but Jon is really good, if you rewatch these 3 fights, at picking his shots. He's really good at calculating risk and taking necessary shots. And what is Jon's main weapon in these 3 fights? It's his front kick, his oblique kicks, his head kicks, his body kicks. He does mix and punches as well, but primarily he's relying a lot on kicks. Now, did this fight tell me anything how a Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane fight might go? No, it did not. Ciryl Gane, Anthony Smith, very different fighters. However, this was one of the fights amongst the 3 which cued me in onto one glaring weakness that Jon Jones has that's going to cause more problem at heavyweight. Next up, we have Thiago Santos, and let me just tell you how I scored this fight. Round 1 was close, but I gave the edge to Santos. Round 2, Santos messes up his knee, but he still won the round in my opinion. Round 3, I gave it to Jon. Round 4 was close. I mean, could go either way, but sure, you can give it to Jon. And then round 5, I gave it to Thiago Santos. So I scored the fight 3-2 Santos. Rewatching this fight, I forgot how mediocre of a performance this was from Jon Jones. Now, keep in mind, I am aware that Thiago Santos was still dangerous, even though his knee was messed up, but I just can't get over the fact this was a very mediocre performance. Jon, again, did a lot of front kicks and oblique kicks. And another thing that I noted is that, again, Jon Jones has an elite chin, and he's obviously extremely tough. But this fight, again, I noticed a major weakness. Before I get into the Dominick Reyes fight, can I just say this? Rewatching a lot of these fights, and we've known this since the beginning of Jon's career, I just forgot how much he sticks his hands out and his fingers out towards his opponent whenever they're moving in or even stationary. And I've noticed, like in the Reyes fight, he did get some warnings on it, but a lot of times I just feel like the refs aren't strict enough. All right, let's get into the Dominick Reyes fight, and boy, how Dominick Reyes has fallen since this fight. Crazy. I still think about this sometimes. I don't know if after this fight, Reyes was just never able to capture the same motivation and drive to be the best he could, or was it just that this fight showed a lot of Jon Jones' decline and Dominick Reyes was never that great? Okay, let's go to how I scored this fight. Round 1, I gave it to Reyes. The footwork and striking were clearly giving Jon Jones problems, and keep in mind this could be a key part of Ciryl Gane's game plan to use footwork and stuff to frustrate Jon. Round 2, I give it to Reyes. Round 3, I give it to Reyes. And then round 4, it was close, but I gave it to Jon. Round 5, I gave it to Jon. So Dominick Reyes, in my eyes, clearly won 3 rounds to 2 based on the unified scoring criteria. One thing, like I pointed out before, Jon Jones showed in this fight really solid defense. Always puts his hands up when he needs to, moves out of the way, good head movement. Defense really solid. However, offense in this fight, extremely bland. He just wasn't able to put really anything together, not really any meaningful impact. Just his offense was just bland. And again, this fight, I noticed Jon Jones's big problem and weakness that he's going to have going up to heavyweight. In my humble opinion, and I think other people share this sentiment as well, I think that Jon Jones lost 2 out of his 3 last fights. His chin is elite. His toughness is elite, his conditioning is great, his defense is solid, he's very good at picking shots. Now, one of the questions, of course, is will everything like that I just mentioned still be there after a 3-year layoff? We will see. Alright, no more screwing around. What is that major weakness I'm talking about? That major weakness that I'm sure people have noticed since the beginning of his career, but it's really evident now, and it's going to cause him problems at heavyweight, is his lack of power. Now, I know people are going to say, oh wait, but since the beginning of his career, he's had no serious power, but he's still been able to finish people and dominate fights. I understand that, but look at these last 3 fights. The lack of power, the lack of impact he has, combined with the lack of grappling offense and submission threats, it has made him into this much more bland fighter who, in my opinion, lost 2 out of his 3 last fights. So again, that lack of offense, the lack of power, and the lack of grappling threat has led, in my opinion, Jon to lose the last 2 out of 3 fights. And what is going to happen when he has to face off against people like Ciryl and Francis and Stipe, when he doesn't have that power and the ability to really hurt and impact them with his strike? So 2 things. If Jon Jones hasn't worked away in these past 3 years to make his shots have harder impact, again, I don't need him to be a knockout artist, but to have more impact, if he hasn't worked on it in the last 3 years, I don't see what he's going to do against these heavyweights. And if he hasn't worked on his grappling to the point to close up that weakness in power and impact, I don't know what he's going to do against heavyweights realistically. So my theory is that Jon Jones is probably going to focus on a grappling heavy game plan for this fight, especially against the cage, trying to wear Ciryl out, take him down, ground and pound, submissions, etc, etc. Tough fight for Jon. We're going to see how it goes. Best of luck to him. Again, I don't know fully how it's going to go because I've never seen Jon fight a heavyweight. So like the video if you ended up liking it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. Again, leave a comment if you have any thoughts on the fight that's going to happen at UFC 285. And check out my channel for other videos I have and live streams as well. Take it easy, guys. Have a good weekend. Look forward to the fights.